YouTube, it's me, Bergie, and I'm a little ashamed, but mostly proud of myself. I literally just finished reading Magnus Chase and the Gods of, and the Sword of Summer. I don't even know the name of the book. It's currently 9:44 p.m. on Tuesday, October 6th. So I literally finished the book in less than a day. And I'm gonna say, I didn't spend my entire day reading. I tried to be good. I definitely went to all my classes and all that stuff, but the book, it was just so good. I honestly breezed through it. And yeah, that's why I'm proud, but a little bit ashamed, because I said I was gonna try to lengthen it out, but that did not work. So, first off, non-spoiler. So anybody who hasn't read the book, you can read this part, or watch this part first. Honestly, if you liked the original Percy Jackson in the Olympian series, you're gonna love this book, because it goes back to kind of more Percy style talking. It's not with the different perspectives, and there's no title, it's just the name of the person who's giving the perspective. And this, it's only Magnus Chase's perspective, and we are given the funny titles as we were in the original Percy Jackson series. Unlike the Percy Jackson series and the Heroes of Olympus series, in this book at least, Rick Riordan is breaking the fourth wall between books, and because it seems like Magnus is more aware that he is in a book than Percy really did. I mean, I know in Percy Jackson he kind of gave like a foreshadowing little note or whatever, but it's more so than that. That being said, it's not as much breaking the fourth wall, I guess, as Rick Riordan's Egyptian series, because that was literally that, I forgot the name of the two characters. I wasn't a fan of those books as much as the Percy Jackson series or anything like that. But those two characters, they gave a recording of their voice to Rick Riordan so that he can transcribe into paper. It's not like that. It's not that obvious. There's little things that make it known that Magnus is kind of aware that this is a book and his story is being told in book form. There was a lot of little things, just like chapter titles and stuff he said in it, which I'm not going to go into right now because that would be spoilers. But I thought it was really good. It was very interesting. Like I said, I read it in a day, so it kept my attention. So it was a great book. I'm excited to see what will happen next, and I'll leave my predictions at the end of this, so if you haven't read the book, you have a chance to read it before you look at my spoilers. But yeah, I thought it was really good. It made me really interested in Norse mythology and that stuff, which, I mean, yeah, I knew about Loki and Thor and that kind of stuff, but I didn't know the actual myths. So that kind of makes me want to learn them and understand what is happening, because I feel like if you know more about Norse mythology, it'll be a little bit easier to grasp what is happening, I guess, or at least like understand the different like gods and that kind of stuff, or what they're talking about, or even just the pronunciations. Which disclaimer, in my spoiler section, I might say some words, some names, whatever, and I'll probably be completely off. But I don't know how to pronounce those words, so I'm just trying. Thought it was really good. It's more similar to the Percy Jackson series than the Heroes of Olympus or the Egyptian series, which, again, it's just blown my mind. But it's another good book, and I really enjoyed it, and I really recommend it. So, now, if you have not read the book, please stop watching this part now, because I will be getting into spoilers, and I really don't want to spoil it for people who have not read the book, because I think you should go read the book, especially if you like Percy Jackson, especially if you're a fan of Rick Riordan. I mean, I don't think I need to say that, because I'm pretty sure most people who are fans of Percy Jackson or Rick Riordan have already started reading the book. So that was just a redundant kind of statement, but still, don't watch any further unless you've read the book. I'm probably going to be a bit not very focused, I guess, and what I'm going to say. I didn't write much down because I wanted to enjoy the reading experience. I do have some stuff written down. I have some stuff highlighted because I read it on my Kindle because that was the only way I could read it. But yeah, so I'm probably going to be a little bit all over the place. Now, I'm going to start with characters first. First one, of course, that I'm going to talk about is Magnus Chase. Now, it seems that it's kind of common for the main characters in Rick Riordan's books to have suffered a lot of tragic experiences. Their life stories are completely like difficult and hard and that kind of stuff. And it kind of shows that anybody, even if you're from poverty, from a bad life or whatever, you can be a hero. And that's something really nice. With Magnus Chase, I feel like he and Percy Jackson kind of have a lot of similarities with their tragedy, but there's also a lot of differences as well, which I'm gonna try not to compare the two heroes together, but it's probably gonna happen because I mean I love Percy Jackson and this was a really good book and it could potentially be as great or close to being as great as Percy Jackson. So Magnus Chase didn't know who his father was. It was a god. Found that out later. His mom was killed, I'm guessing when Magnus was about 14-ish, I think. So he was homeless because he refused to live with his uncle Randolph, which I'll be talking about him later. So he was living on the streets, he was homeless, and he lives in Boston, so it gets pretty cold there because Boston is pretty high up, obviously, and somehow he survived with his own, I guess, his own street smarts, which is something else you can kind of see that is similar with Percy Jackson. They both have street smarts. They both needed to learn how to work the streets. Not in a prostitute kind of way, but like they had to have street smarts. Now, because Magnus Chase had lived on the street, it was something that Percy didn't really encounter. And for that reason, I feel like Magnus Chase is not a bit more heroic, but he has that on his back as well as other stuff that Percy had as well. So it was just something else added to his hardships. But that being said, there were instances where Magnus just was kind of weak. Don't want to say weak because he is not weak by any means, but like physically weak, I guess. He doesn't handle stuff as well as Percy did. There were multiple times in this book that Magnus got sick, and I'm not a fan of sickness. I think I've said that in a couple of my videos before. I don't know, I might not have, but I just don't like sickness. So him being constantly like sick because of what he's going through, that's kind of shown me a weakness a little bit. But the thing is, the stuff he went through, oh my goodness, I would not be able to deal with it. I'd probably be worse than getting sick. I'd probably die. So it's a little petty thing, but I can see it becoming maybe a weakness that he's not completely strong in himself. But I don't know. He's quite the hero. He kind of embraced it quicker, I think, than Percy did. Even though they both embraced it quite quickly, I think Magnus was a lot quicker to believe that he was a demigod and his father was God, and that he had to become kind of heroic in saving the day. A little less dramatic, Magnus also has the same kind of humor as Percy. They, like, generally speaking, their kind of humor is like in the same category. They're both quite sassy and that kind of stuff. But Magnus is more like, he has a different kind of sassiness than Percy does. Don't know how to describe it. Maybe I would say like it's a little bit more melodramatic, but I'm not sure if that's the right word for what I'm trying to say. But they have the same kind of humor, so that was great seeing that again because I've missed that with Percy. Even though you can see it in the Heroes of Olympus, it's not as prominent as it is with as in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So that was great to see Magnus Chase's sassiness and way of speaking to the reader come through. Like I said before, Magnus Chase seems more attuned to the fact that he's kind of telling his story to the reader. I mean, in the first chapter, it kind of begins how Percy Jackson does with a kind of disclaimer to the reader, like about what's gonna happen or what had happened to him in the past, and he's just retelling it as like foreshadowing for the rest of the story. But yeah, it seemed like Magnus Chase, he seems like a really good, pure, I guess, hero, kind of again like Percy. They both have this pureness, they want to do what is right. And they kind of both see that the gods' way of viewing things isn't necessarily 100% right. They don't think that the evil characters are 100% right either. They kind of have a middle ground. They want to restore the balance, but they can't necessarily pick a side because there's faults on both, which I think that's going to be prominent in the next couple, or in the next books that follow. But I think that's as much about Magnus that I can talk about. He just seemed like a cool dude, even though he was constantly puking. Not constantly, I'm overstating it, but I don't like puke, so those are just blaring signs for me that I remember. I guess Sam, she was introduced in the beginning, and not in the beginning, but she had an important part in this book, and I feel like she's definitely gonna have a big part in the rest of the series, however long the series might be. She is a Valkyrie, something like that, Valkyrie, I forget how I said it, but yeah, she is kind of, how would I describe it? Not like an angel or something, but she's kind of like, I guess, Peter Pan, if you believe the story that Peter Pan is bringing the kids to their death. That's kind of what she does. She plucks, I guess, Magnus's soul from his body and brings him to Valhalla, which is the place where all heroes go once they have died, in order to help fight for Odin's cause, who is another god. The head god, if you will, the Zeus equivalent. She was a pretty interesting character. She is the daughter of Loki, who is one of the bad guys in this book and in this series. And she's fighting against that to prove that she's not like her father, that she's not bad or a trickster or whatever, not wanting to have the bad side win. So she has it pretty hard from the beginning. Sorry about that. But yeah, she has it really hard from the beginning. We're told that she's made many mistakes when bringing these heroes, because there's some debate over that, to Valhalla. Of course, in the end of this book, we realize that the people she's brought over, at least the main ones that she's brought over, are like redeemed. They're realized as being actual heroes. But I don't know, there's something about her. It's just, she seems so cool. First of all, she's Muslim, so having that kind of character be very important is really cool, because at least the books that I've read, there's not many Muslim characters who are good and important, or even just there. So I thought that was very interesting and enjoyable. Wow, I just spit really bad. I hope you didn't see that. But yeah, so that was really interesting, and it's a nice change, not having everybody be like white or whatever, because I feel like the Muslim community doesn't really have as many vibrant, bold, sassy characters in popular fiction novel. So that was really interesting and great and enjoyable to see. So I'm happy about that. And I love how she wasn't described as being that at first. All she had was like a scarf and stuff, and she would put it over her head, and then it was later described why she had that. So her race or whatever isn't shown as important. It's kind of like a background thing. Like, she's not being described as being Muslim. She's a kick-ass girl who just happens to be Muslim. So that was very great. And she's very smart. I wouldn't say like Annabeth smart. Again, I'm trying not to compare these characters, but it's pretty hard. But she has her own bouts of intellectual decisions and that kind of stuff. She does have like not so intellectual decisions or scenes or whatever as well, but she seems intellectual. She's not dumb in any way, which that's kind of redundant to say, but she's smart. She's a smart girl with sometimes bad decisions, but she's a smart girl. And she's bold. Like, just the decision to go on a whim, to listen to Odin, to go against the Thanes in Valhalla, to continue searching for the sword, even though she was like fired from her position. So she has some fire in her, so that was great to see as well, to see another strong female character, which that's one thing that I really enjoy of Rick Riordan's writing and characters and that kind of stuff. He's not really afraid to make female characters strong and just as great as the male characters without having them be made fun of or something. That's kind of, I'll compare that to Hermione, who she's a great character. However, she gets made fun of for her intelligence and that kind of stuff. Here, it's not like that. Like, it's a main character who's obviously very strong. Yeah, she at first gets dismissed a bit because of her parentage, but she makes up for it, which, I don't know. It's almost 10, or it's past 10 p.m. for me, so if I'm spouting shit, that is why. I'm tired, I've been up for a while, and I've read all day, so I have kind of a book hangover. But that's beside the point. Sam is a very cool character as well. And I'm also glad that it seems that she is not going to have any kind of boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with Magnus. She has her own boy in the background who she loves, and I feel like that will happen. She has more of a familial bond with Magnus, and I'm hoping it stays that way, because not all main male characters are gonna fall in love with the main female character, or it shouldn't be that way. So I'm hoping that's what plays out, that they just become really great friends and actual great friends. Not how Percy and Annabeth started out as great friends, continue to be great friends, but are also boyfriend and girlfriend. I just hope they stay great friends and they fall in love with other people, if they ever fall in love. I ship their friendship. I do not ship them in a relationship. Who else can I talk about? Blitz and Hearth. I thought they were very interesting. I knew from the beginning that they were gonna be important and that they had more knowledge about who Magnus was because of the little things that are happened in the beginning. So I was glad to find out that was true. And I'm glad that they kind of proved themselves and stayed true to who they were and were able to persevere despite everything that was against them. Blitz, he was a dwarf who, instead of making like chairs or weapons or other furniture and stuff like that, things made out of metal, he wanted to design clothes. Now, of course, that was kind of frowned upon, by the dwarves, but he kind of proved himself worthy of being like a good, great dwarf despite his different field of interest, and that kind of was helped along by Magnus. On the other hand, which Magnus also helped with, was with Earth. He was a deaf elf, so he was already imperfect because of his disability, which is another great thing that was in the book, that people with disabilities can still be great heroes. But other than that, he also wanted to do rune magic, which was something that hasn't been done in centuries. So he was kind of doing a profession that was out of style, out of date, not proper for that time period. So he was also shunned kind of for that. And he kind of embraces that despite how his family felt and that kind of stuff. So that was great. And they both had a huge part in defeating the wolf Fenris, something like that. I thought of Fenrir Greyback when I read that name, like, oh, that must be where Fenrir got his name, Fenris the wolf. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent. But yeah, so they both helped in defeating that wolf, the big monster at the end. So they were very important. Magnus Chase's hallmates, they also played an important role, but not important enough, I guess, to name them individually. But they all kind of proved themselves. It was kind of like they were the lowest rung of the chosen heroes to fight in Odin's under Odin or whatever, and they really proved themselves, and they were rewarded for it at the end, as was Magnus and all of them, which I'll probably get to that a little bit later. But they were really good. It's kind of like the underdogs rising up, and they were quite the weird collection of people. They came from different times, different places, and I thought that was really cool. I really like that about this book, that they kind of incorporated a lot of different time periods, because all of the people are dead. They're dead. They're not living, so they could be honestly from any time period. So I thought that was really cool and very interesting. A lot of the gods in this, they don't have the same poise, I guess, or the same, at least I didn't see the same kind of regalness as in with the Greek gods or even the Roman gods. They kind of seem more down to earth in a way. They seem more human, I guess. But that might have just been me. But it seemed like they were better adapting at adapting to modern times. Because I mean, Thor, he was watching frickin' Sherlock and The Walking Dead and what was the other one? Game of Thrones on on his hammer, and then on his spear because he lost his hammer. So that was really interesting and funny. And Loki, he appears to Magnus Chase multiple times wearing a Red Sox jersey, which I found funny. Not a fan of the Red Sox. I prefer the Mets, even though they in past seasons haven't played as well. Although now they've been playing a bit better, I think, than usual. I don't keep tabs on it. But anyway, that's not important at all. So a lot of the gods, they didn't seem as poised, as radiating importance or radiating power as the Greek gods were. It was subtle, because of course they're still powerful. They're gods. They're immortal. But it seemed like they were on a different scale than the Greek gods. I really enjoyed Hunding. I wish we had seen a bit more of him. He was like, what do you call him? He kind of showed Magnus the way in the hotel. Like, he brought him to his room and that kind of stuff. Don't have a word for it in my mind at the moment. But yeah, that's what he did. And I was kind of hoping for more, because he seemed like a cool character. He seems like he will be redeemed or his punishment will end. Even though it's not really punishment because he was brought as a hero, but he is working under and getting bossed around by the main consigliere, I think he was. The main guy at the Hotel Valhalla. So I hope we see more of him because he seemed like a cool dude. Even though we didn't see him much. I want to see more of him. The only other person I think I want to talk about is Randolph. Well, no, that's not true, but I'll talk about Randolph first. Randolph is an ass. He's a total selfish bastard. There's no other way of saying it. Now, at the end of the book, we kind of see why he has acted the way he did and why he kind of brought Magnus to his death and kind of started this chain of events. It's of course because Loki has his family and is kind of dangling his Randolph's family in front of his eyes saying, you want your family back, you gotta do what I say. And you failed this first time, but I'm gonna give you another chance to try to redeem yourself and you can get your family back. So it's understandable that why he's doing that. But Magnus is his family too. Shouldn't he be worried about the family he still has alive? I don't know. He just seems like a bit of an asshole to me. An understandable asshole, but still an asshole nonetheless. Now, there will be another character I'm going to talk about, but I have other stuff I want to talk about first.